episode 14 of Anime for Trashdwellers, and we're talking about Touken Ranbu Hanamaru Season 2. Do you need to have listened to the podcast about the first series to understand the show better? Maybe. The show's such a weird little clusterfuck. It's like, maybe watching the first one will help, but with a general understanding of what's going on, because nothing happens anyway, then no, re-listening to that podcast probably won't help you all that much. Okay, Hot Sword Boyos Round 2. Here we go! Just like the first season, and in true cute boys doing cute things form, there isn't a whole lot of progression plot-wise. So I doubt there's going to be much difference between the first and second season, to the extent that it just feels like one long big series. The opening shot is Red Sword talking to the Master, but you don't see the Master, so it's that thing where it's like he's talking to the audience, and he's like, "Hey, you don't come down to the porch often. Bitch never leaves her room." Well, so I guess that is the first big difference in season 1, that the Master has finally progressed to leaving her room and travelling as far as down the stairs. Tight-ass Chan tells everyone off again for not being serious and focused enough. Bruh, this is a cute boys doing cute things show. Like, read the room. Some shouters are introduced to the new foxes because the one from last season got a promotion. I can't think of a higher promotion than working at the Citadel with historically significant swords. Like, I can't see where you'd go up from there. Like, historically significant guns. The swords decide that it would be a good idea to celebrate New Year's like humans do. Fucking one sword just offhandedly states that they are gods that possess swords. Thank you. This was never explained in the first season. I guess it's nice to get that clarity as to what exactly the fuck is going on, even if it is halfway through the fucking series. Malagai is getting everyone to sort out all the photos he's taken. Even in this day and age, cameras are becoming somewhat obsolete due to most phones having cameras inbuilt into them. How the fuck does this guy not have a camera phone in the year 2205? Fuck, at that stage I'd probably just have cameras inbuilt into people's eyes and shit. And we have more new awakened swords. No! I've deadass only just gotten around to recognizing the current, 30 of them, please, no more. One of them did get the name Beard Cutter, because when his master was trying him out, he cut this guy's beard. The fact that they don't play into this by making this guy a barber at the Citadel is disappointing. But also, this is a cute boys doing cute things show. There's no ratty facial hair here. Longsword's getting ready to run the New Year ceremony because he's a sacred sword. Ah yes, there is nothing more sacred than length. Ghostbuster can't be a sacred sword because he killed a child. Well, a ghost child. So therefore, he didn't actually kill anyone. There's a scene of a group of swords discussing if they can become sacred or not, and the general consensus is, lol, no, we've killed too many people. Each episode is a different month of the year, which means that Blue Sword is currently not in the series yet because he's still soul searching in the past. So the two new swords, Red Sword, champion of the elderly sword, and Lazy Ass Sword head off on today's battle. Gilflower takes a yokai along with him, and it's the same term of yokais and Kami-sama Kiss. I can't remember his name and it isn't on the Wikipedia page, but it's the yokai that sucks up his way into becoming stronger, and he's like a little shrub/grug looking yokai. And I just assumed they were fictitious ones the author created since I hadn't seen them elsewhere. But apparently they're real, and they're so fucking adorable, like Jesus Christ. Grandpa's favourite grandchild explains that this is a good yokai and not a bad one like his master used to kill. Oh, okay. So, basically, in order to keep Grandpa happy and make him feel needed and like he was making a difference, his grandchildren were like, "Now here you go, Grandpa. Here's your own special sword so that you can perform the very important task of culling the 100% totally real yokai. Like, Grandpa just had Alzheimer's and just ran around in the dead of night flailing his sword around. The Historical Restoration Army's been spiced up a bit. It's no longer just the same looking grey and black Oni. Now they have these weird little flying skeleton worms and dead soldiers. And Lazy Art's sword just out there doing shit. Like, full on fighting with all his might. I thought your special talent was your lack of motivation, you lying piece of shit. The two new swords fight, and we know they're getting serious because their muscular midriff and pecs are showing. It ends with Malachi buying an old handheld camera from the local convenience store. Why is the local convenience store selling antique cameras? I have some bad news, guys. Today's ending song had no Japanese instruments. It was actually really cool how all the songs were traditional Japanese inspired, and generally bummed it wasn't the case this ep. Episode 2. So, every episode is now opening with Master standing on the veranda with some cute little sword boy saying something nice to them. In the opening monologue for this show, it has the line, "Every day competing in Mortal Kombat." Like, you don't even compete in Mortal Kombat in every episode. Maybe if it was every day competing in being cute squish moe blobs, then yeah, that'd be more accurate. It starts with one of the Shota being awakened from a PTSD dream about Osaka Castle burning down. A new one of the Great 5 Swords has been awakened, aka an SSA card. His eyes are pretty too, so I guess that's how you distinguish the SSAs from the SAs / how you get people to spend upwards of $100 trying to get that SSA card, cause look at how pretty its eyes is. The buff monk invites the SSA card to go training with him, and Red Sword gets dragged along because he's been put in charge of looking after newly awakened swords, guarantees a way for him, the main character, to be heavily involved in every episode. One sword from the first series that I've never mentioned before, he really likes gold, and that's it. And then the sword in black clothing, like, he wasn't even invited, he just came along because he actually enjoys training. So they climb up a mountain. Red Sword looks at his sandals and reckons they're no good for climbing. But never fear, Gold Lover here. He unzips his tracksuit top and offers Red Sword either white or gold grip socks. He has no t-shirt on underneath that tracksuit top, meaning he'd be super sweaty and smelly, and Red Sword still wears the socks he gave him? Like, ew. Then they do training at the waterfall, and once again, Red Sword just takes this cunt sweat-covered white kimono. Like, ew, that'd be even worse. The training they do at the waterfall is the buff monk just chucks logs at them. And that fucking SSA card showing its worth via being able to dodge every bloody log with his eyes closed. Red Sword does a deep and meaningful speech about working hard to improve myself. And then once those logs land, he's like, yeah, nah. The Shota from before and a whole bunch of his friends are sent on a mission to the Osaka Castle after the fire to raid it for goodies because the Citadel's running low on cash. Look, I wouldn't necessarily call this move changing history, but stealing historical artifacts is still pretty dodgy. Everyone races off with that little PTSD kid, so he quickly chucks the coordinates into the time machine, but accidentally sends himself to the day the Osaka Castle burnt down, and then passes out from the sword-induced PTSD. He does get rescued and all is good, except it isn't, because once PTSD Shota got a taste for freedom, he can't stop! He goes back to the day of the fire in order to move the two swords that were burnt in the fire, because since they were burned in the fire, they lost all their memories from when they were swords. The ultimate Nissan sword is there to explain that this is not okay, even though it was okay when they were stealing artifacts from the rubble and when Blue Sword let Okita live at the end of the first season. I'm a bit confused, because they say the ultimate Nissan sword was one of the ones burnt up in the fire. But I'm pretty sure when he was first introduced last season, he could remember all his Ototo-sans just fine. They come back without changing history. Right? The training group are chilling in the onsen. Bloody buff monk and sword, they're just doing sit-ups on the wet cement and their little white towels. Safety before fan service, guys. Episode 3. It opens the way it should open. It opens with Tight-Ass-chan greeting the master, as he should. We are introduced to a new Masamune sword, who's a total twink, and yet we get a nice shot of his muscular legs. Like, this kid doesn't miss leg day, but he skips out on every other day and ruins his attendance record and therefore doesn't pass buffness school. The TV series has only just realised that maybe they should utilise their cute white tiger cubs more. But it's kind of weird how they're always cubs. They don't seem to grow up. Okay, Tiger King. I named you Tiger King because you own tigers. Not with the intention that you get up to any of the inhumane shit that Joe Exotic gets up to. The tigers are mostly cute. It's when their realistic-ish tiger faces pull like a sad face that they start to look a bit creepy. They mostly just get up to mischief, but at the end of their romp SSA cards like, I see they were just trying to help people. What part of stealing someone's drinking snacks is helping people? Also, our clothes washer and calligraphy extraordinaire is with Mr. Popular and Cool, and sitting there in snobby disgust at his pathetic and inane attempt at a haiku, even though his hype man there acting like it's the best shit out there. Next half, one of the many swords with long white hair. I don't even know how to distinguish this guy from the other swords. He has no other standout features. It says there haven't been enough surprises in the Citadel lately. That is a very dangerous word, and I'm not sure if I want to see where this leads. Well, it leads to a sports festival, so I had nothing to worry about. Because yes, in a series that is about swords awakening in order to fight history-changing monsters, we have had both a beach episode and a sports festival episode. The keenest are our muscular twink who thinks her first medal looks shiny, and Tight-Ass-chan because he's so whipped for master. All you need to know about the teams is that White Nationalist sword is teamed up with the shit Brickhouse Abs replica sword, and he's mad. He's there going, well, don't let us down. Like, cunt, he is the buffest guy at the sports festival. If anything, he's carrying his team made up of skinny you and your Shota counterpart on his fucking shoulders. They do the scavenger hunt, and one of them needs security blanket's rank-ass robe. An old washer and calligraphy just there like, don't get that rank-ass thing even dirtier. It ends with a tense relay, Tight-Ass-chan beating muscular twink for it. And now for the real surprise. The master, who never has any decent amount of cash on her because she spends all her earnings playing the sword gacha, couldn't afford an actual medal, so she just got a cookie one instead. Honestly, this is better. Not quite as good as a chocolate one. But still, cookies are good. Muscular Twink is upset that he lost, even though he still gets the cookie. Tight-Ass-chan just there sadly taping the metal wrapper back together. But then his Masamune sword bros cook him up curry as well as him having the cookie, and then only after that is this little brat satisfied. Episode 4, it opens with the white-haired guy from last ep. I remembered how I distinguished him from the other white-haired guys. It's because he's dressed in white robes, so therefore he's the white guy. Anyway, he's like, hey master, look at this, whilst holding up a censored sexy radish. Like, fuck. I thought being the master was shit easy, but if she's stuck with a fuckhead showing her whatever fucking new thing they find slightly amusing like fucking stupid 7-year-old children do, then yeah, it is harder than I thought. Especially if she's stuck in the same room all day, because then she can't hide from them. There is another new sword, and hey, it's another sloppy drunk. My favourite. It's historically accurate that it's a drunk, because whenever Oda was drinking, he started bragging about this sword. But despite the fact Oda loved it, it was a shit sword and let him down. Yes, more sword PTSD. And then believing they had a much larger impact on their actions than they actually do because their impact is none because they are inanimate objects. When Titus-chan comes along, he's like, oh yeah, Oda was a dick. Let's not talk about him. And Oda, loving drunk, just like, oh, that's right. Weren't you given away? Oh my god, we now have sword classism in this universe. I love it. Cue montage of Sword avoiding all the nice food the master has provided everyone with, cause he ain't gonna suck up to anyone that isn't his precious Oda. The drunk eventually makes its way to the fucking squeak easy they have on the property, or maybe in the future liquor laws are super lax, and has a drunken spiel about how he's a useless sword, like he's a disgruntled businessman who hasn't had a promotion in 10 years. Then Titus-chan comes along, and they're like, hey, how come you never talk about your second owner? And he like, cause I actually liked him. And talking about him makes me sad. / I've kind of gone over him cause I'm whipped for the master real bad. Red Sword has a flashback to a time when Blue Sword fucking down 3 Dengo in one gulp like fucking hell. Someone's got a massive mouth and no gag reflex. There's another battle, and once again, as has been happening for a long time, Red Sword is not picked. Oh no, man, it's happening. You worry that she'd get bored of you and abandon you, and that bitch has! And he's missing his blue bro real bad. But next step is May, which is when he returns, I'm pretty sure. During their battle, Radioda suck-up tries to run off with his soldiers to help him, and they're like, nah, that's against the rules. The switches in my head finally clicked that like other cults, they're situated in a secluded mountain region away from civilization. Yet still the convenience store should still have more up-to-date shit than it does. Unless it's also kind of semi-part of the Citadel, like it's part of an Amishish religious sect, but like they only own and interact with technology from the early 2000s. Like, I can't have modern technology, but I can at least have a shitty mobile phone that lasts me my entire life and a sick silver grey Walkman and a little robo-dog toy. Oda's suck-up ends up going for a walk along the beach whilst he's completely plastered. But then a storm hits and he gets washed out onto these rocks. Titus-chan goes to save him, and this cunt has gone suicidal due to how useless he was as a sword. And Titus-chan does some type of Naruto-esque magic speech to make him want to live again. He and Titus-chan D&M, Titus-chan telling him that via destroying the historical restoration army, they are helping Oda. Even though he was killed before he had a chance to conquer Japan. But we'll skip over that minor detail. Then he tells him about the master. They're mysterious, and I can't always tell what they're thinking. Oh yeah, that is grade A audience self-insert character descriptions right there. Then he goes on about how kind they are. Aww. And then how they never leave their fucking room. Wow, she sounds like such a delight. It's good you're being truthful about it to Oda Fanboy 101, but just stick to the positive truths. We need him to like her. Next up the episode, another new sword is awakened. No, there's too many. I can't remember them all. Stop putting all this stress on me. And this sword awakens, and this is some fucking intense goth fucker. Cunt has massive fucking crow feathers in his hair that are honestly the size of Tengu feathers. So, I take back what I said about there being no new swords. This cunt is the exception. He is real fucking old, so he's appointed himself the official fucking daddy of all the swords here. They're having a Sakura viewing party. Fucking mullet guy just doing tricks on a ladder. Like, okay. I don't think that's a skill set a sword would have. Because swords have no skill sets. Because they're inanimate objects. But who cares? They're flippin' sweet tricks. Security blanket guy is forced to get up and perform. And fails. And he blames it on himself for being a mere copy. Why do all these swords have so many insecurities based on what type of sword they are? The master should really get a therapist for the Citadel. Except the therapist will probably prescribe for this guy in order to improve his mental health a big old dosage of get the fuck out of the cult, so prob's not. Which is a lie. No one watched him perform because the food arrived. Then Goth Daddy invites him to perform his weird kooky dance and his insecurities are gone. Man, maybe a Goth Daddy is as good or better than an actual therapist. In the ending song, there's like a close-up of Goth Daddy's dancing legs and feet. Like, the fact that they show his swords as hot men is kinky enough. You don't need to add other fetishes to it. Episode 5. So, its opening scene is of the two brother swords who awakened in the first step of this second series, and they are giving the Master Miyagi, aka food. Okay, see, these are the types of scenarios I want to self-insert myself into. Hot Bishy's bringing me food, unlike bloody tight-ass Sean, who, when he came along, said, alrighty, let's get to work. Like, fuck off, cunt. Okay, so it's shit Brickhouse Abs grabbing some water in the night, and he accidentally steps on the white nationalist who retorts, ugh, this is why you filthy, disgusting, degenerate fakes are useless. I'm sure it was him being a fake that caused him to step on you, and not the fact that it's dark and you're forced to sleep in a small cramped room together where the sleeping bodies take up the majority of the floor. Well, the mediator of these guys is finally starting to get sick of their shit, so he works real hard in battle so that he wins MVP of the battle, and guilt trips him into cooking him a celebration meal together. Brick Shitass Abs is cool with it, but White Nationalist, oh nah, he there complaining about having to cook with Fakey here, but MVP guilt tripping him hard. So they cook, and look, it's another cooking song! Yes! This was definitely something I wanted seen done again in the second series. More mediocre 5-minute long songs. In this song, White Nationalist only lets shit Brickhouse Abs cook the rice because, as he joyfully sings, fakes can't cook anything but rice. Yay! A sword racism song! Man, aren't I glad they brought this concept back? Once again, neither of them are trained singers, but god shit, Brickhouse is that close to not being able to sing at all, like fuck. The rest of the song is shit Brickhouse Abs trying to prompt White Nationalist out of all his bad cooking choices, which he doesn't take notice of and therefore ends up burning all the food and being that close to burning the entire citadel down to the ground. After that mess up, shit Brickhouse Abs gives them a nice, easy recipe the two of them can make together. It is just whipped up eggs. That is it. That is all there is to the recipe. Just whip them eggs up. They don't even mention if there's any sugar added. MVP still eats it up anyway, because fuck, at least he got White Nationalists to stop being racist for a little bit. Then Masamune's sword comes along and salvages their burnt meal into this fucking gourmet meal. Afterwards, we get White Nationalist's redemption, but it's in tsundere form. So he like, oi, you fake! Here's some clean clothes for you. It's not like I love you or anything, baka! But redemption of racism in tsundere form really doesn't work, because he still called him fake. Like, I don't care if you have no hatred against towards shit Brickhouse Abs when you call him by the F word, because you still called him by the F word. More swords are unlocked. Please stop. And it's one of the Great Five swords and his copy. His copy just in full-on SSA card Chad form. Security Blanket ends up following him around until Copy Chad tells him he's on knees stalking, and Security Blanket asks him, how are you, like, a copy that doesn't fucking hate himself? And he replies, 'cause I'm fucking awesome. One of the many shoulders I haven't been fucked remembering in order to tell them apart. I'm pretty sure he was the one that ate sea urchins in the first season's beach episode, or whatever. He's had an up upgrade! Master got 4 of his card and was able to upgrade him to an SSA level status. Red Sword goes to fight him and loses, and he is disappointed in how weak he is. Like, oh my god, Red Sword, stop making it about you! Everyone else had their asses beat too. Can't you just congratulate him for becoming stronger? He's feeling extra depression because he hasn't been in a battle for ages. But then he runs into Security Blanket, who was on Master duty when she made that decision. And yeah, basically Red Sword is her strongest card, so she's just strengthening the others up to his level before she lets him fight again. Red Sword has been stressing about this for months. Couldn't someone have given him a memo? Then Red Sword questions why he was given the lame job of looking after the newbie swords, and Security's Blanket's like, because you have functioning social skills. Like, oh my god, have you seen some of the other weirdos here? And honestly, that's how cults run. It's always the friendly cult members that recruit people. Then Red Sword mentions how Security Blanket isn't wearing his security blanket anymore because Copy Chad's speech gave him the confidence to ditch that smelly fucking rag of his. Episode 6. With the opening songs for this show, it's the same song, but each time it's sung by a different group of the Seiyu. And this time around, there was just one guy who went, fuck it, I can't sing it up the octave, and there's just this random baritone line in the middle of this cutesy idol opening. Like, okay, next time an armchair goes on about V's lovely low and usually off-tune voice, fucking show them this shit. That lazy art sword and his 2 bros bring the master a plate full of fried chicken, a steaming massive pile of rice, and a big old tub of stew. Like, okay, this show has finally made me glad to be a self-insert, where I run a big old cult full of bishies that bring me fried chicken and rice. It starts with Feral Shota having PTSD night terrors, and it's explained very, very briefly that the servants of his mistress killed her with him. Then, when her son grew up, he took revenge on his mother's death and killed her murderers with him. So as a result, he lives with the curse of revenge. Even though he was an inanimate object at the time and was incapable of feelings and all. It's like that Sesame Street song. Swords don't eat, and swords don't breathe, and that is how you know they're not alive. Or something like that. Depressed Prozizord sees some other swords planting some flowered seeds, and he reckons that yes, lavender is going to be the cure for this kid's PTSD as opposed to, proper therapy. Mind you, he probably didn't know what therapy is. And this is a cult where if they did have proper therapy available, they'd lose like half or more of their congregation. The Doctor's Sword describes lavender as being good for people's sleep, and Tired-Ass Chan just shoving the seeds in the ground like, help Master sleep, god damn it! A purple-haired guy who loves doing laundry is having the time of his life picking radishes too. Boy, they're living the domestic dream. Longsword blesses the flower patch, and as soon as he does, they sprout up, and he's straight up like, oh nah, my blessings are just fancy words used to placebo people into feeling better. It isn't actually supposed to do anything. It's all raining and stormy, but depressed housewife and that white-haired one that hangs out with him are determined to keep the torpalin over the flowers. And then the gym bros come along, because when are they ever going to get the chance to work out via holding something against strong wind again? Afterwards, the trio are discussing the lavender, and Feral Child says about the long white-haired sword one, I know you don't like fighting. He is a fucking sword! He was literally created for the sake of fighting. Then Feral Child says his desire for revenge still pulses through his blood, but at least he was able to briefly forget about his haunting demons when tending to the flower bed. So I guess that counts as a win. This story also helped explain what I kind of assumed all the Shotas are short swords or daggers of some kind, which sort of makes sense, except that this one specific longsword isn't incredibly bigger or older than the regular length swords. Another 2 Shota arrive at the Citadel, so they get shoved into the Shota party room for sleeping, which is already at full capacity. But fortunately, the kid who really likes stocks put all his treasure money from when they raided Osaka Castle into the stock market and managed to make a massive profit from it. So they end up purchasing a new citadel. I think they brought a new one, which I assume is close to the old one. I think they did physically move. I don't think they just renovated it, because there was just an empty citadel up for sale. Who knows? Maybe the cult next door committed pact suicide or something. I don't know how the master was able to mentally handle moving house when she apparently didn't even leave her fucking room. So now Malachi is going through filming the new citadel with Red Sword as interviewer. Ghostbuster is there with his salt, so hey, maybe I was right about the suicide pact thing. So instead of all the Shodas getting their own room, they now just have a massive Shoda party room, and they're all excited because now the Ultimate Nissan can share it with them. And he says how he's excited to share a room with them. What a lie! When do you get a wank? Honestly, every time I see idols sharing bedrooms, this is the first question that comes to mind. Tiger King says into the video camera that he'd like the master to come visit the Shoda party room. Considering she's used to being in a room with one person in it, maybe two others at most, I think being in a room full of shouting, screaming boys might be asking just a little bit much of her. Red Sword is there interviewing everyone about how much they like their new rooms, and they all answer excitedly that yes, they love sharing rooms with one another. This is the most idly shit I've seen in this anime so far, and that includes them pretending to be AKB48. All of Masamune's swords brought dress-up outfits / idol outfits from the convenience store. I guess they haven't moved too far then. And they're just trying them cute outfits all on. And the Red Sword's just standing there like, yes, that's very nice, but what about your room? Malachi is excitedly holding his model boat. See, Master, this is why you need to give these guys access to modern technology, so that they don't get lame hobbies like building miniature boats. There's this one shady room, and when they go into it, it's just the new Fox Spirit mascot with a shit ton of fried tofu hanging up, and the swords just slowly exit. Does fried tofu have a bad smell or something? Because I can't see how him hanging up tofu is considered that weird. Like, even the mascot gets his own room, but most of the Shoda are all shoved into the one area. Oh yeah, this guy didn't replace the other Fox Spirit. He's still here chilling with the mask guy. So I don't know who he was supposed to be replacing. I guess someone who was so slack at their job they didn't even do enough to get any screen time. And all you have to do to get screen time in this show is like nothing. They can literally be doing nothing and still get screen time. Then when they're saying a last message to the master before the camera's battery runs out, the SSA sword that did the mountain training says master should do waterfall training with him. Out of all of the master leave your room and do shit requests, this is by far the most unlikely. You need to make these goals more achievable. Like, master, I hope one day you decide to sit in the corridor outside your room with me or some shit. So Blue Sword still hasn't returned. I am really lost as to when he's going to return. Around the time I was watching this in September, there was a news story that a lady doing a song for the new Sword Gacha game claimed to be Okita's great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter. Like, fuck off, you were. Plus, new Sword Gacha equals new anime season, cause yay. Episode 7! With this opening song, there's another baritone who's just fucking going for it. Fucking maybe straddling that tightrope that is in tune and off tune. Like, whoa, fella. It opens with Feral Sword and his bros giving the master some of the flowers they grew last ep. Cause the subtitles say they're lavender, but honestly they look more like hydrangeas. Cause lavender grows in bushes, but this flower doesn't. Oh yeah, and they had this flower patch before the new Citadel, so I don't know if the Citadel was refurbished or if it's a new one or what happened with the crops or anything. It's straight into the action, guys. The white nationalist and his crew are losing their fight against the historical restoration army. Oh gee, I wonder who white nationalist is gonna blame for making them lose their fight. But never fear, it's the new sword and Red Sword to the rescue. It's nice to see Red Sword doing what he loves, stabbing grey Oni monsters. But it's no wonder they didn't lose, because since whenever our new sword was used in battle, he never lost. And so he was given the nickname Lucky. And we see that in action when there's lots of lucky tea leaves, lucky clovers, saving bed sheets that flew off the line. The sound of terror, the guy who loves doing the washing maid. Like, this shit real here. Like, this shit right here is real horror movie stuff. Fuck ghosts. I'm never gonna see a ghost. But having my clean sheets get sturdy as soon as I wash them? Now that's realistic and terrifying. This also happens with the stock market, because Ultimate Nissan drank from a pretty mug, which, when they look it up on eBay, is like a $250 million antique. So our little wolf of Wall Street in the making decides to earn all that money through the stock market. Do you know what would be much cheaper? Just get a novelty mug from the convenience store. They've probably got plenty of mugs with cartoony pictures of cows on them and shit. But no, they decide to go with the financially sound plan of having a 10-year-old play the stock market. There's a whole montage where when the lucky sword goes near Mr. Wall Street's room, the stocks go up. But when he walks away from it, the stocks go down. Everyone is more worried about how upset Mr. Wall Street is than the fact that he lost a fuck ton of their money on the stock market. The Dr. Sword goes to Tight-Ass-chan for advice since he used to live in the same household as this guy. And he suggests they put on a festival to cheer him up. It's the festival specific to Hakata in Fukuoka, which is also shown in Hakata Tonkatsu Ramen. But unlike in that, there are no loincloths. Boo! So everyone enjoys the festival and its big floats, especially Mr. Wall Street, who, since Lucky Sword is nearby, his stocks rise up again. Yay! I know nothing about the stock market, but I'm pretty sure it ain't that simple. Buffmonk figures that, hey, since Tanabata's in the same month as this festival, fuck it, let's create a 2-in-1 deal here and save us a fair bit of time. Some Puritan brings up that, originally in Tanabata, you didn't write what you wished for. You wrote what you hoped to improve on. So hence they decide to go down the New Year's resolution route. How many had the wish to start going to the gym and then give up on it after attending for a month? Gil-chan wishes to improve his dancing. Well, I don't see you dancing much, but why not? Red Sword was gonna write, be cuter. Like, oh my gosh, babe, you're already cute. Stop it. But then wrote it on Blue Sword's behalf instead. But because Lucky Sword was around when people wrote their revolutions, everyone just straight up improves without putting any effort in. And this triggers another performance by Sword 48. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to return, but I'm sure glad it did. And it's even accompanied by Red Sword waking up and realizing it was just a dream. Stop being cowards and make Sword 48 real, goddammit. Also in this ep, there was a scene of the green spear sleeping on the roof whilst having a nightmare. Like, nothing about that sounds like a good idea. He's having a nightmare about being hit by wooden mallets because you can't stab wood. But with your blade, you can whittle it away, so honestly, it's no biggie. But then the wood turns into veggies and generic looking meat and he's happy because he can stab them and even shish kebab them. Skewer food. Episode 8. Now, the opening song this time round is up to version 8 and let me tell you, the longer along the versions go, the more likely it's a gruff sounding voice actor with little to no singing ability because that was rough and manly. So this time, the swords meaning the master are Masamune's lot, and they bring some kind of mocha dumpling thingies, but they expect the master to share with them. Oh no, that's that fantasy ruined for me. Either I get all of it or I get all of it. That's how things are gonna run, fellas. Oh my god, it literally opens with a conversation between 3 new swords. Help. Well, I lied. One I had been introduced to before, I just completely forgot about him. So there's this guy. He kind of looks like Xyloporo from Bleach, if any of you can remember that far back. And he's there blushing away as he's about to open the door to the master's room. It looks like the new citadel. She's situated downstairs near one of the open verandas, which means when the sword boyos are talking to her in the opening, it's just outside her room's door. This makes more sense. I thought it was a bit unrealistic that she was suddenly capable of going down a whole fucking flight of stairs. And the other new sword is voiced by Ren from Ujapri. And in full Ren style, he says, "I must strip off." Oh my god. When I was double checking if it was the CEO I was thinking of, bloody, this cunt not only the voice of over-the-top sexy characters like Ren, he is also the voice of under-the-top sexy characters like Victor from Yuri on Ice. And he is also the voice of bored deadbeats such as Aizawa from My Hero Academia and Yami from Black Clover. Like, holy shit. I didn't realize the range on this fella. And the fact that I recognized each genre voice, but just assumed they were all by different voice actors instead of the same one. I am so dumb. They meet Tadash-chan, who explains that he's the master's assistant, and those two both want the job of being official bitch so bad. Xylopo because he wants to be able to help the master since he loves her, even though I don't think he's ever met her at this point. And Ren wants to because he wants to be popular, and Red Sword gets cut off when explaining, no, it's not that highly regarded a role, he's just her whipped bitch. So they fight to see who will make the better assistant. First off is scrubbing the floors for their glorious one, but they use a whole bowl of detergent and end up slipping everywhere. Then it's who can stay in the sauna the longest. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the subs because I didn't think their next challenge would be this. So honestly, I have no idea how they justify this being a good skill set to have for the master, especially since she sure as hell wouldn't be traveling as far as the onsen. Does this bitch even shower? Imagine how gross and smelly she must be. Like, how can you be so wet for this woman, tight-ass-chan? Xylopo doesn't strip for this because he doesn't like showing skin. Like, fuck off is what I would say. But Red Sword gets a sneak at his chest and Xylopo replies, "We all have our secrets." Like, I am not sure if this guy has tits or not, but frankly, it is none of my business. When Ren sees that Xylopo isn't going to strip, he responds with the best line in the anime out of both seasons, "I'm naked, so I'll go easy on you." They both pass out around the same time, so it's on to the final challenge, which is, I cannot for the life of me remember what it was. When I typed this, I thought maybe it'll come to me later, and as soon as I got to bed, it did! Rope tying. They decide that whoever is the assistant for the master needs to be good at quickly and efficiently tying up intruders. Like, who would be intruding on this place? You guys have no money. Plus, the master's hidden away. Surely they'd be seen by at least 10 people before they even got close to her. So they tie some swords up. Ren with the regular, brawny version, but bloody Xylopo here full on does this guy up in bondage. And just like actual bondage, it comes apart easy because kinky sex is safe sex. Otherwise, it's assault. Ren's does too, so they both tie at this challenge. Ahaha. Just as they finish that challenge, Tight-Ass-chan returns from fighting, which means his position for the day is no longer vacant and they're all sad. But then they realize they had fun doing these challenges, so that's okay. Unlike Red Sword, the reluctant ref who looked bored the entire time. The second half is about this new guy who's super petty. He says to some of the Great Five swords, "Well, I would have been in the Great Five if I wasn't discovered so late." Like, there is a lot of baggage in that one statement. Now, it's cut to this one character that I have only mentioned once, and that was in the first season. I think he was the sword that Shota kept swapping shit for to give him as a gift. But all you need to know is he likes drinking tea and that his hair covers his right eye, but you can see his eye through his hair, and it's just the most frustrating thing. Because all his masters kept journals, this guy keeps journals, and he's flicking through one that is just of Mr. Underappreciated. One is a photo of him at the beach, because yes, this is our second season's beach episode, except this time around there's way more sexy hot legal man, and it is only in a measly little flashback. Anime, why are you so cruel? Then it's a photo of him during a fight against the Historical Restoration Army. And when he powers up during this fight, it's so intense that his shirt just rips open. Not come off or undone, just full on rips open. Episode 9. The opening song is now back in the hands of Seiyu, who can hold a basic tune. Though the baritone was nice, it's good to know that the singing quality isn't progressively getting worse. So Rain greets the masker, asking if he should strip off, his chest revealed and glowing, while Xalapur offers more food. I mean, what more could you ask for than abs and food? This ep is about this tall cunt. He hasn't been introduced yet, so we'll just call him Tall Cunt. And he goes through all of these tall people's struggles, something I can never relate to. He bangs his head on the door frame while exiting a room. When he's at the convenience store, he bumps something off the top shelf. This next one isn't even his fault. One of the many drunks has decided to grab a washing that's hanging over a big old dirty patch of ground, and it's made out like he dropped the sheets because they're too big, but he dropped them because he's pissed off his fucking face. Plus, I'm short. I deal with 2 large sheets to hold up in the air all the time. And despite the fact I have shit hand-eye coordination, I still manage to do it because it's not hard. Then Tall Cunt got to borrow someone else's sheets and PJs, both of which are too small for him. The next day, all the drunks haggle him over to the bar where the only sober man in the room is the one to go on the big emotional spiel. He hates being tall, and the reason he's so tall is because he's basically the longest sword in Japan. He's so long he can't actually be used by a human being. That is so fucking funny. It's like that blacksmith decided to entice people into his shop by making a world's largest sword and just have it hang out the front of his store. So then he was gifted to the gods, but feels that a sword's job is to be wielded by humans in order to kill other humans. And since he can't do that, he's fucking useless. Mate, I'm sorry, but you are not useless. You are a fucking god sword, man. Fucking the most powerful beings in existence are wielding you in order to fight off other gods. That's fucking gnarly, cunt. Sickest sword. It cuts to a group of the Shodas sitting underneath a tree, trying to grab the too far away persimmon, and Goth Daddy there like, let Daddy grab that for you. But he's a little midget too, but oh, would you look at that? The guy feeling insecure about his height comes along and grabs it. Who would have thought? It's September. It's the start of autumn, meaning it's very, very hot. Unlike the last 3 months of summer experienced in the last 3 episodes or anything. Who knows, maybe the writers were finally thinking ahead future-wise and decided to add the future effects of global warming to the mix. So a group of them decide to hold a water pistol tournament. Just gonna say, white supremacists is on one team while shit brick has abs and security blanket are on another team. Like, this turned into a race war. Team racists even decide to bring water balloons to the party. During all this commotion, they find the journal writing guy just chilling in a tree, and they're like, the fuck are you doing here? And he like, stalking for my stalker journal. Episode 10. It opens with all the Shodas in the room with bowls of rice for the master. Like, no! This is a nightmare, fuck! Even with the food, but it's too much food. How's someone supposed to eat all those bowls of rice? See, if they all just brought in one little dish each, Beach could just get them to walk around in a circle and then she'd have a human sushi train. A group of the swords decide to go fishing. It includes the spears because they've been working hard all day and want to relax. And then like 4 of the Shodas because like, I don't know, they're kids. Kids really enjoy getting themselves into dangerous situations they could possibly die from. And drowning fits that criteria pretty well. Well, one of the Shodas is going because he's having a tanty. He actually argued with Ultimate Nii-chan? But how is that possible? Well, I'll tell you how. I know for a fact that I haven't seen an episode focused on this particular Shoda before because fucking hell, there's no way I could forget his irritating voice and design and everything. He's irritating everything. Like, this kid is the mosquito of the series, if that makes sense. So, of course, someone like this got into a fight with the most beloved character of the Citadel. The fight was because Ultimate Nissan was telling Mosquito off for eating too many snacks and therefore being too full for dinner. And this little shit replies, glamorous wife magazine in hand, well, if I had a married woman, then she'd let me eat all the snacks I want. Ultimate Nissan, obviously not sure how to answer that ridiculous, sexist, and above all, false retort, says, no married woman is ever going to come to the Citadel. But in order for this unrealistic fantasy to work, Mosquito needs his own married woman, not someone else's. So the fishing party have headed off and they're all so tired from their hard day at work and relaxing so well that they fall asleep on the boat and end up drifting to an unknown beach. The white supremacist is frantic for his Shota, and lazy-ass Chan stayed up all night waiting for his Shota to come home. So they send out a search party. Shit brick-ass Abs was gonna go, but then white supremacist says, a fake can't handle it. But then he says something nice afterwards that's supposed to make up for the racist comment, because, no, it does not. They are smart, though. They take the lucky sword with them so that they're guaranteed to find them. Back on the beach, and now they have to go swimming in order to be able to eat tonight, and Mosquito says, I only work if I have a married woman to pat me on the head afterwards. Like, child, you don't need a married woman. You just need a gacha game such as the one you're currently in order to constantly have access to cute boys on cards. One of the other shodas states, that's all you've said since we got here. Like, Jesus Christ, this child is the problem and not Ultimate Nissan, okay? If that wasn't already clear. The search party finds them, and they still bring Mosquito back even though he's an annoying shithead. The second half is about one of the Great Five swords, an SSA card. He is a spiritual sword, known for warding off monsters and sickness, and can do so via placing him on your pillow. So basically, he's the anti-vaxxer of the sword world. Vaccinate your kids! Anyway, Mr. Crystal's cured my cancer. Can't eat outside of the storage shed he lives in because his spiritual energy is so strong it stresses out animals. Now, his fellow swords are nice to him about it, but they know anti-vaxxers are full of shit. Vaccinate your kids! So they go out of their way to teach him that his pseudoscience is bullshit. One of the swords describes it as a place where you can pet animals. So of course they're setting up a petting zoo. Wrong! It's an animal cafe, cause fuck you. The animals are the fox spirit that hangs around the guy in the mask, but not the other one that was introduced at the start of season 2 for some reason. A turtle. I think he belongs to the guy who mediates white supremacists and shit brickhouse Abs. All the tiger cubs and the grug-looking yokai. Everyone gets in and has fun petting animals without eating anything. So why the fuck didn't they just call it a petting zoo? Except for the one guy this whole cafe was set up for. Then lazy-ass Chan comes along because apparently he has stayed invested in those Tanuki from the first season, but now one of the cubs is sick, and Mr. Gwen Paltrow's vagina candle will cure my headaches describes that his ability of scaring animals overcomes his ability to heal sick animals. He uses his magic spirit abilities to pat the Tanuki just once, finds the thorn stuck in its side, and pulls it out. I would call bullshit, except lazy-ass Chum probably knows the thorn, but couldn't be fucked removing it, so he just feigned ignorance to get someone else to remove it instead. Now, this ending is a cool rock ending, yeah! It's so cool that we see the swords wearing jeans! Holy Christ, I have not seen a single pair of jeans in this entire show! There's at least 10 different gaudy matching tracksuit sets, but they couldn't have a single sword's casual attire be jeans, now could they? Something I really want to be true but probably isn't the case. It'd be great if at least one person working on this franchise has a history degree. They're just like, finally, I could use my history degree whilst writing about swords singing whilst cooking or some shit. Also, Bleed Sword still hasn't returned. I was sure he arrived back midway through the year, but I guess I was wrong. Episode 11! Yes! We are up to the second last episode of this series, and it starts as action-packed as it should. One of the shotas is too cold. He says, probably like 10 times throughout the episode, that he wants to warm up via diving into the master's titties. I don't know, even if she just sits in her room all day, she probably is fat. But there's a certain level of overweightness plus big boob genetics required in order to get breasts big enough that you'd be able to snuggle in them or get any decent amount of warmth from them. So I doubt it. Oh my god, the shotas are the worst. I'm giving them focus spots in the episodes. Even Mosquito's back and he's like, I want to get warm from head pats from a married woman. Ugh. Tiger King can stay because he's got tiger cubs. And the rest of them can just fuck off. They're children. Send them to a future orphanage. So this kid heads to the dojo in order to warm up. The buff monk. It has come to my attention that there are two buff monks in this series, and I've just been describing the two of them under one name. It's fine. There's 30 of these fuckers. Give me some slack. But yeah, one of these buff monks, fellas, brushes the child for warmth between his muscular arms and pecs. After that, the kid goes to the kotatsu. Good idea. But he's with the Ghostbuster and realizes he has to talk to him. He can't use his kotatsu without being polite, but he's a fucking weirdo, so the kid decides that his sanity is more important than being warm. He eventually decides that he's just gonna have to ask the master in person, but fortunately, Tight-Ass Child left her room just to say, oh good, someone is here for me to bully into helping me do chores. The master knitted everyone winter woolies to get through the winter, as opposed to providing the Citadel with sufficient heating. Now, we're on to the second half of the episode. Oh shit, they're supposed to be fighting grand final. A significant-ish moment in Japanese history is the head of a family dies, which means a whole bunch of people will want to kill the rest of the family. But this doesn't happen because Data is there and lies to them saying no, the head is still alive and hence saving this family's life. That is as much detail as they gave. Sure, I could look it up, but honestly I can't be bothered. If this story gets any more complicated, I'm going to end up so much more confused. But yeah, that's what the Historical Restoration Army are trying to fuck up this time. And Tight-Ass Chung keeps saying, oh no, they're affecting a different timeline. Like, mate, they're constantly appearing in different eras and areas of Japan. They've already been fucking up different storylines this entire time. Now, just to make things more confusing, they're definitely talking about Date Masamune. He's got the eye patch. It's all his previously noted swords going to fight, but both the subtitles and the audio, they refer to him as Muramune or something? My brain can't... Why? So they send out all the Date swords and they make the antisocial guy the leader and everyone's shocked. Like, yeah, me too. I've barely seen this cunt this season. And the episode ends on another intense battle cliffhanger. An intense, serious ending song instrumental. Episode 12. Final ep, guys. Since the swords haven't returned from battle yet, the Citadel decide they need to send some more swords over. But say they need another time travel device, which they have, but they've sent separate loads of people to the same place before? But maybe it's the Gacha 6 card limit? Like anime, there is barely any fighting in this show. The least you can do is have the game mechanics make sense. The cards being sent are 2 SA cards that were upgraded to SSA cards and Red Sword. They travel there and they have to fight a big spider monster with a human torso sticking out the front of it. That's nice that they spiced up the monster designs a bit, even if they still look shit, but hey, at least it isn't another Oni. And Hugh appears, but oh, Blue Sword, he has finally returned to the series. Hooray! So then he and Red Sword defeat the spider, both whilst very shirtless. And when doing so, Red Sword screams, anyone who sees my skin dies. Sorry, ladies, but I will have to murder you if you even see the faintest whiff of my virginal skin. Blue Sword's time travel device is a bit broken, so he follows the boys afterwards, meaning he arrives 5 months later in April. Okay, so he didn't return after his journey until the year after he headed off. So he was gone for a year and 5 months instead of 5 months like I thought. So since it's been a week at least since I watched the first season, I'm not sure if they explained that at the end of the first season or not. Because honestly, there's a pretty high chance it wasn't. Blue Sword explains that in his travels, he watched Tokida's new timeline he evilly created and went, well, he died anyway. Well, are you proud you stooped to the level of the Historical Restoration Army and changed history like the villain you are? Then he talks about going to the future and not having a complete breakdown like a Lovecraftian character, but more just observing like, well, this is nice. I guess he was too busy being in chill but oblivious tourist mode to be too freaked out by the wonders of modern technology. When Blue Sword describes why he decided to head home, he makes it sound like it's because he was thinking about the other swords and that he actually cared about them, which is complete bullshit. What actually happened was he was happily traveling around, and then his time-traveling device sent him to the Citadel before he arrived. And when he overheard Red Sword saying how it'd be nice if one of Akida's swords came to the Citadel, he went, shit, I forgot about those fuckers, and just head straight back home. Like, fuck off, it was because you cared. When Blue Sword explains that he feels Red Sword has gotten stronger, the screen just quickly flashes what feels like every character in the series, but I don't even think it covers all of them. It's just so many and so quick. Too many cute boys! So yeah, a fairish amount of this ending was basically the same as the ending of the first season. Lame! Then it ends with a photograph with the whole lot of them. And they made it feel very final, like, no, there's a new game coming out and I want a new anime to come with it. Okay, that was Touken Ranbu Hanamaru. I will quickly mention that for this second season, it was pretty gutsy to pretty much get rid of one of the two main characters. It definitely helped give the season at least one thing separate from the first season. Now, the series overall. So, this series falls into the cute boys doing cute things stereotype. Now, doing cute is very closely tied with the thing theme for this series. For example, Free. It's cute boy swimming. So all the cute stuff happened about or whilst they were swimming. Yeah. But for this show, a show about hot samurai fighting monsters, that barely happened. They just did their own cute shit and casually forgot about the main purpose for the show. And I need to emphasize once again, because yes, I know lots of idol anime with multiple groups will generally have larger casts, but they will be staggered. You very rarely see an episode of an idol anime with literally every fucking character that is mentioned outside of the end of or start of the series. This show, however, there was at least 20 characters per episode. 20! I need to say this as clearly as possible. This show is a concussion-inducing car wreck. Both the main features I have discussed and the fact that they're basically all samurai make it quite different from anything else I have watched. I did enjoy it. I think purely because I am a poor excuse of a human being who is lower than dirt. Alrighty, that is episode 14 of Anime for Trashdwellers. Thank you for listening. This was Insufferable Weeb on Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter. I think I'm supposed to say like and subscribe, but you're not gonna do that. You haven't been liking and subscribing because I forgot to mention it. It's because this podcast is shit. Alrighty, bye.